This is the Chevy Traverse, an 8-passenger crossover vehicle based on the same platform as the award-winning Buick Enclave, and it also shares the same basic DNA as the GMC Acadia and the Saturn Outlook. Now, in the past, General Motors have been criticized for brand engineering. That's taking one vehicle and sticking a different badge on it and selling it under a different brand. To some extent, this Traverse is guilty of that, but on closer inspection, it has its own special character. Styling is the most dramatic way to differentiate the Traverse from others in the GM stable. And I have to say that other than the Buick Enclave, the Traverse is the most elegant of the bunch. The body panels flow nicely from one section to the next. The vehicle has a cohesive design. The front integrates the Chevy grille nicely, but it's the back of the Traverse that is the most elegant and European. The rear lights and minimalist design look remarkably similar to the back of a Volkswagen product. Good company. There are 3 basic trim levels on the Traverse. There's the LS, that's the base model, then you get into the LT and then the LTZ, which is the top model. And wheel sizes range from roughly 18 all the way to 20-inch wheels. Now, within the LT, there are 2 sub-trim levels, 1 LT and 2 LT. What I like about the 2 LT, the higher trim level of the two, is you get a backup camera and backup sensors, which is great for a vehicle of this size. Prices range from roughly $35,000 up to $50,000, which sounds like a lot of money, but you have to keep in mind, this is a full-size 8-passenger crossover. Our LT has a power liftgate that opens to a useful cargo area even when the third row of seats is up. There's room under the floor for extra storage. Other than families that require the third row every day, these seats will probably remain stored, making a huge cargo area. The second row of seats come with captain's chairs on this 2LT version, but that reduces the seating by 1. The Traverse is a full-size SUV alternative and also an alternative for a minivan, and the interior space rivals both types of vehicles. The inside of the Traverse has a good basic design. There's some flashes of silver in here. I especially like the instruments behind the steering wheel. These little lobe-looking things, they remind me a lot of the Audi A6. Now that's pretty good company. You also get tilt and telescopic steering, MP3 playback, and XM as standard equipment on this vehicle. But unlike the Audi products, you still get a lot of this hard plastic on the dash and the doors, which makes it look a little bit cheaper. On this 2LT mid-level trim, you get a leather steering wheel with radio controls, Bluetooth connectivity, backup camera, upgraded sound system, and more. Heated seats are not offered on the base model, which is disappointing. Is there any difference buying a Traverse over, say, the Saturn Outlook? Not really. Maybe a few styling adjustments here and there. I think General Motors is a little bit guilty of that brand engineering. It really comes down to which brand of vehicle you want sitting in your driveway. The good thing is GM's got lots to choose from. Just because the Traverse is a shared platform doesn't mean you should exclude it. On the contrary, this is a wonderful vehicle no matter what name you stick on the front. Unlike a full-size SUV, the Traverse only uses a V6, no V8s here, and that translates into a less thirsty multi-passenger vehicle. Also, the nicely sculpted lines look far more appealing than any van. Now, the 3.6-liter V6 that's utilized in the Traverse has direct injection technology. What does that get you? More power and also better fuel efficiency. Now, on the 2 lower trim levels, the LS and the LT, you get 281 horsepower and 266 pound-feet of torque. The funny thing is, with the same engine, if you get the LTZ, it has dual exhaust. That helps the vehicle breathe better. That pumps the horsepower up to 288 and adds an extra 4 pound-feet of torque. The 6-speed automatic is very smooth and tends to put the Traverse in the highest possible gear for best fuel consumption. If the driver requires more punch, a jab at the throttle livens up this big unit nicely. But the driver also has a manual shifting option on the side of the gear selector. General Motors or Chevrolet has done a nice thing with this vehicle. They allow you to pick the driveline you want depending on how much you want to spend. For example, you can get the base model, the LS, with all-wheel drive. You can also get the top line LTZ with just front-wheel drive. You see, that all-wheel drive system is an option of roughly $3,000. Now, this one has all-wheel drive, but earlier we had a chance to drive the Saturn Outlook, as we mentioned, a shared platform, and we noticed with that vehicle, under hard acceleration and wet pavement, the front wheels would spin. So I think the extra $3,000 is worth it to get better traction. An all-wheel drive Traverse gets 13.1 liters per 100 kilometers in the city, or 22 miles per gallon, and 8.8 or 32 miles per gallon on the highway. Not a fuel buster, but compared to a full-size truck-based SUV, this is an improvement. This is a vehicle that's easy to like. It's a full-size crossover, but it drives smaller. It's got a wonderful engine and transmission. It's smooth, it's quiet, it's nicely finished and airy on the inside. However, we would like to see heated seats on the lower trim levels. Now, this was kind of one of my favorites until the Ford Flex came along. That's another full-size crossover that's wonderful. So what I suggest you do is try the General Motors full-size crossovers like this Traverse and go and drive that Ford Flex and see which one suits your needs a little bit better. These two are both excellent examples of what Detroit can do right. This Traverse is a good-looking vehicle, and styling counts for a whole bunch in the auto industry. On top of that, you get a nice-sized vehicle. You can carry all of your family, all of your stuff. It's okay on the inside. The finish is pretty good, but it drives very well. It's smooth, it's quiet, and it's comfortable. Now, for somebody who's into a truck, this is an alternative. It has just as much room, but it uses a V6 and it's more efficient. And starting at $35,000, that's okay. But for somebody that's in a van, they want to move into a Traverse, it's starting to look expensive. My word of advice for you, you got to pay to look good.
For complete specs, go to our website at drivingtelevision.com.